Hey folks, hope you're hearing me. Here we are back for another Fiddle Jam live session. We talk about things fiddle and jamming and outlawing. All the stuff I love. So I still got my old acoustic fiddle from the late 1800s. It's tuned to what I'm gonna be calling, I decided this week, I'm going to call it alto violin because it makes perfect sense to me. I know historically, if you look up on Wikipedia, alto violin is another thing that's down below a viola, between viola and cello or something that makes no sense to me now. If you look up vocal ranges, soprano is basically normal violin, and alto is alto range for an alto singer, a female alto singer, is about this. It's about E, F, E, below middle C, which is exactly this. It's a perfect thing to call it alto violin. I'm really loving it. Just adds a step and a half in the bottom, and you lose a step and a half up here. Who cares, right? Now, it does make the violin sound a little deeper and darker. And I mentioned before, I had a slight problem when I sat in with a band. It was a little too dark and a little floppy sounding. So it's the technology of the strings. So I'm goofing around with different string sets. It seems that the cheaper strings actually sound better tuned down. Guitar, I've worked at Guitar Center for quite a long time, and we got a whole wall of different strings for guitars. They're all about this. But violin makes one set pretty much for the same scale for the most part. And nothing ever changes. So in no sense we can't do some experimenting. I thought I did the cut files for on my CNC machine this week. I haven't made one yet, but I'm going to make one for myself. One of my outlaw fiddles. Shouldn't even have one in here today. I think it's out in the shop. That I show every week, and I'm going to make it a little bit longer. Now, violas, if you don't know, from here, if I'm not mistaken, here to the nut on a violin is always 14 inches. Standard full-size violin. Violas are non-standardized in the family. They're the least perfect. Really, they say for their pitch they should be a small lap instrument with a thicker body. But poor violas they got these great big viola instruments, and they're 15, 16, and 17-inch different scales. So viola is very imperfect. So why, if I'm making up something new, why does it have to be perfected too? I thought, if I go a full inch, that'll be, people call, oh, it's just a viola. It's like, no, I'm going to go about a 3/4 of an inch. And like guitars are varying lengths. If you don't know guitars, like Gibson is a little shorter than a Fender. And some people prefer that scale over another. And the way the strings will sound, whether it be looser or tighter, certain gauges. So I'm going to be experimenting with this. I might just put a different neck, since my necks are bolt-on like a guitar on my electric violins. I'm going to make a little bit longer neck, and you'll be the first ones to know about it when I test it out. So I love this lower sound, but I want to make it a little brighter and a little tougher sounding. So what are we going to do today besides me blab about that stuff? Trust me, I'll be the first one to blab about it. So why don't we go over some of these things that give life to the instrument? Why don't we do some call and answer with this stuff? I've been pushed. Let me get probably up in standard tuning on this violin. I should have been more prepared. Let's see. E. With my Nilling planetary tuners, which I love. I defy anybody to tell the difference by looking at it. If you looked very closely, you'd see that the inner part is a little smaller diameter than that. It runs on a worm gear inside here, and it goes 4 times slower than the peg. This part spins separately from this part, which is attached to the wall, and the inner part goes slower. I love them. You can do all kinds of. They are the fine tuners as well. I don't have fine tuners on my tailpiece anymore. See my tailpiece, by the way. I made this years ago. It's lasted about 15 or more years. I think it's time for me to try and make some more. It's carbon fiber with a good old piece of amber in there. It's 3 million years old or so. I thought it was appropriate. It's fossilized rosin, right? So is that in tune with this guitar? I do have a set of the Whitner pegs in my shop. I'm going to put on one of the violins I'm making. Those are 8-to-1 ratio. These are 4-to-1. I'll be trying those. They look quite promising too. They're a little bit more expensive. Doesn't necessarily mean they're better, but I've been hearing great things about them, and I'm looking forward to trying those too. And I'll be the first to report here on them, here at Outlaw Fiddle Jam. All right, so this violin almost sounds too bright to me now that I've played a couple weeks in Alto, which is good if you're playing in a bluegrass band and got to compete with a banjo. Those banjo guys are loud. They're loud and heavy, those banjos. So anyways, depends on what your uses are. I am going to be in the electric world. I'm planning on doing my own thing. I'm not trying to copy anyone, but my own inner muse. And that's my goal. So if I want to sound a little thicker and a little deeper, a little heavier, maybe distort a little harder, that's my thing. So at that point, I'm not competing with a banjo. I'll be competing with me. I'm not quite in tune, am I? So we've been talking about, in past weeks, bringing more life to the bow. This is the business end, as it's called in the business. It's the thing that makes the sound, whether it breathes or it doesn't, or it sounds sterile. So, and there's all these subtleties. I try to get people to be loose at their fingers. If you can't do that, I see good violinists who have stiff hands, and it sounds stiff to me. And you're much better off to have a graceful flow to your fingers in all joints. You don't want to be stiff about anything. So work on that. Not to hammer you over the head about that. Let's try some things, though. How about if we start with the croak, and then release it. Try that in the A string. Croak, release. So how are we doing the croak? We're moving too slow and pressing too hard. Sounds awful, right? But let's then release. So to release it, you go lighter with the hand and faster. And know where that spot is. So thank you. It says it's so cool. I'm seeing the stream. A little bit on my phone. I'm going to get a bigger screen, and I'm going to figure this stuff out too, so I'll be able to respond more directly to you guys. Thank you. I appreciate you watching. So scratch and then release. If you saw my fingers, they flexed a little bit. Scratch. Downstroke on the A string. Scratch. It can be, if you have a stiff hand, it can be still work just with the speed of the bow. Going too slow, but it's best to have the flexibility in the hand too. So that little croak can be something musical as well. All right? Think of great singers. Kenny Rogers, you know. Different people had that croak in the beginning of their notes sometimes. So, try the D string. Croak. And release. Croak. Release. Just copy me. Croak. Release. Croak. Now those are all downstrokes. Try an upstroke. It's a little harder. You've got to press a little harder to make it croak at the tip, which is an advantage. Why you should probably play at the tip most of the time, because it's harder to croak, right? In the camera. Croak. Let it loose. Croak. So let's try a down bow and an up bow. Croak and release. And croak and release. A couple more times. G string. Good. These little subtleties will give you control and know where that croak spot is, so you can avoid it if you want, or add it if you want. All right? That's the stuff that makes it come alive. One of the things. So rhythmic chuck, huh? Cool. You mean That's cool too. It's called a chop in most circles. So a rhythmic chuck. Sometimes bluegrass players do that to back it up. All right, I've told the story of Richard Green. He told us the story at one of the teaching conferences about how he was punished by Bill Monroe and just had to do this until he learned how to have better rhythm. And it turned into a boring thing, and then they kind of liked that sound. And next thing you know, we got... All right, all these scratches and things can be cool in this factor too. I'm not here to teach the chop to that. To do what I just did, that funky thing would take a lot of practice, but maybe we'll touch on it in the second half. Keep track of the time here too. I don't like to make these things go too long. All right, so the other thing we should be working on, and if you're newer to the violin, is not just learning where to scratch and where not to scratch, or how to scratch so you know how not to, is some technical things like cross string therapy. So we don't do much clarinets or cross string. It's always in the same string just about, but open one, open one, open one, open one. With a very light touch. Try it. Open one, open one, open one. Again, open one, working our way down. I want you to be barely hanging on the bow like you'd almost drop it. All right, that light. Again, go. Moving cross strings gives you spatial awareness. Being aware of where the bow is in the air is very important. If you're at the frog, you still need to be aware of what the tip is doing up there. If it's wobbling around too much, it means you don't have a straight stroke. So the thing is, you're probably going to hit the wrong strings. I know it's magnified here, so that's all the better place to practice. If you can play at the frog, have the tip not wobbling around too much, that's a good thing. Because you need to be able to do a straight stroke on each string. So you're going to be aware of that while you're playing. Open one, open one, open one, open one across the strings. One more time. Ready? Go. I realize for some of you this is too basic, but that's okay. No harm in being aware, and if you're at the earlier stages you're playing, this is a good thing to be aware. So let's try open 1, 2 on each string. Ready? Go. Same. Can you hear that I have a very light touch about this? Be very light. Practice this with something that violinists have a hard time with. So you're moving the bow quite a bit for how light you're doing it. All right? In the Sebchak bowing book that I've mentioned before, they have you do things like a scale with the first note being a whole note, like 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, using the whole bow, and then the second note of the scale being the whole bow in 1 beat. 2, 3, 4. Next note, whole. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Things like that. Just getting used to different motions, different speeds, different pressures. It's what brings life to the bow. All right, so we got open 1, 2. Let's do open 1, 3, which is way more useful in rock and roll. It's gonna be something like this. Open 1, 3. Ready? Go. This time let's go up. Open 1, 3, open 1, 3, open 1, 3, open 1, 3, and then 3, 1, open, 3, 1, open, 3. Let's go backwards exactly. Ready? Go. 3, 1, open. Of course, doing finger exercises like this across the whole fingerboard is not anything harmonic. It's not attached to any scale. It's just fingers. Try it again. Go. 310. Keep that bow straight and light. Now, both directions of the 0, 1s, and 3s is blues scale stuff. Blues scales fits to 1 and 3. What I was doing there was just the A blues. It's an easy zone. I first unveiled these in my book, Fiddle Jam, a way cool, easy way to learn how to improvise. It started out with finger patterns that over tracks I went in the studio and made with my favorite band. So, and A blues on the bottom 2 strings has an open 1-3 fingering zone, an easy zone because you don't have to think about it. Same fingerings on both strings. All right? It's in the key of A. The pattern doesn't start on A. That's okay. Right away, you're cool. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Matter of fact, let's do some call and answer with that. I'll start on the first finger, A, and the G string. You. Follow me. You. Now what I'm doing is not super simple right now. And if you don't exactly get it, that's cool too. Make up your own thing that's at least the same rhythm. Because the concept here for you doing these silly call and answer things that feel so basic, feel dumb, don't they? It's okay. What you're developing is the sense of the holographic time in music. We have what we hear as we hear it in our present mind with our ears, of course, but we also hear in our brain swimming around there what we just heard a second ago. Now, after doing call and answer, you hear me do it, and then you hear me, what I just played swimming around your brain, and you're going to line up what you play with the present of what I just played, and hopefully with the future of what you hope to have it sound like. All 3 timelines are part of musical greatness, I think. The best improvisers, the most famous musicians always say, I don't care what instrument it is. I heard that Guthrie Govan say the same thing the other day. One of my buddy, Jose, pointed out to me. He said, check this interview. I said the same thing as you. He said, really, you're just listening inside your head and trying to play what you hear in your head. And it comes through. Where it comes from, we don't know, but it comes through you, the filter that is you, the human you. So I have experiences, I have things I've practiced, I have things I've listened to, I have attitudes about life, and my family have influenced me, and my environment, and my country, and the politics of the world, all these things, get in there, and it's the filter that is me. These glasses I wear, the clothes I wear, how I showered, how long I was there, what I exercised today or not, all that is you today, right now. It's me today. And that's the filter. So it takes whatever muse is coming from the angels, wherever it comes from, or the cosmic consciousness of all things you've ever heard or ever done or ever, imagined. It filters through you and comes out your fingers. And that's what I think is greatness if you're doing it consistently. So let's try some more of this A blues down the bottom 2 strings. Open 1-3 stuff. You. Slide. That's right. Start with the slide. And I see that time I slid down. So E down, E flat. If you're a theory head, that's the 5th of the key, A, B, C, D, E, and the 5th flatted is the blue note. All right? Let's start throwing that in a little more. And that's E flat. if you got a good ear, thank you, Mac, that is, Mac. I can't see it very well. Thank you. If you slide in the bluesy elements, it's very cool and very, I love the stuff that can't be exactly described and anyways, if you got it on, if you slide, I kind of slid halfway between E flat and E. There's E flat. It's kind of not exact in certain pitches. That's cool to be not exact. You want to be more exact on the tonic. With this blue note stuff, you can be kind of swimming between it somewhere. And on the third of the key, you could be that. So what's the third of A? A, B, C sharp in major. And the blues scale has a flatted third, so it's A, B, C. And you can push the C up into the C sharp-ish land, and it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound out of tune. See, I'm kind of pushing it up and letting it go. There's C sharp. If you want to sound authentic on the bluesy stuff, that's two notes to especially goof around with. You try to ding, 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 ding. That's 3, slide down. You. Dun, 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 3, slide, just a little bit. Let's try the 5th. Open A. Slide down, A. A, then slide, D, slide. You getting the idea? So we could be a little swimmy and it seems sloppy, but it's all in the coolness factor. It's all good. It's way cool, easy way, as I say, for Fiddle Jam. So, how did I learn this stuff? By doing it. By hanging with the blues guys, by hanging with the jazz guys, by trying to strive to sound like saxophone players and guitarists, and just listening to them a lot. Who's my favorite? Well, I love, Pat Metheny, and I try to listen to his records and try and sound like that. I love, Michael Brecker on the sax. Matter of fact, I've said it before, that violin right back there, it's the only autograph I've ever asked for. Michael Brecker signed it. We had the same birthday. I think that was kind of cool. And I was totally into his playing, and I try and listen. Not that you have to copy every lick that they play, but just listening to them a lot kind of gets that stuff in there. It's good to kind of transcribe some things and try. I've ripped some licks off of, Michael Brecker's stuff. He does this, yeah. He does the slide on the saxophone. There's this one little thing that's like, oh, that's cool. You can put it different places in the key. Yes, you can rip people like him or rip me off. It's okay. Just like Mozart ripped off Bach and Vivaldi and Beethoven ripped off the guys before him. So I say we just borrow, right? So I use it. It's all one big world, and we're all making music in it. And music. So what is music? It's not this stuff. That's not music. That's just dots on a page. Music is muse of music, of muse, of inspiration. That's what it should be about. Getting goosebumps. So whatever increases your goosebump factor is what should be happening in your playing, what you should focus on, in my opinion. Yes, there's time to focus on technique and blazing your scales, and whether it's scales in 4 octaves up and down the neck in every key, or whether it's the blues scales, or learning, John Coltrane's riffs, or, note for note, or whatever your thing is to get your technique together, or whether it's going across and learning spatial awareness, like we were doing a little bit of. Yes, there's time for that. I got my technique together as a classical student in my teens, for sure. Heavy-duty classical stuff. But I was blessed to take that left turn and get into the rock and roll, jazzy world in the late 70s, the jazz fusion world, where all this stuff was mixing together. And it continues to mix and continues to develop and mature. And there's tons of musicians out there who are not just in that standard classical box. I was also blessed to have the parents I have, where that influenced me greatly too. It's not just my mother, who was still today a church organist, and taught me the beginnings of piano at least, and got me started, and taught me the beginnings of music theory. I'm blessed for that. But I also had a father who was a rebel. I didn't find out until I was 40 that he was a trained assassin. He was in the Black Ops programs in the Navy in the Korean War. It's like, you did what? I found all these things. And it's like, oh, that explains this and that. But his attitudes, not that he taught me to be an assassin, but his attitudes of not not taking too seriously the man or the rules that are supposed to, it's embedded into my heart. And I thank my father for that, even though he was a music lover, but not a music player. And I think as an improviser, my father probably influenced me more. Because when I got into classical world, I realized, what? They're saying that I need to be in this box. I need to know this and exactly like they say, and that's the only way that's good. And if I'm not in that box, I'm not good, or I'm not accepted, or I'm not legit. That's BS, I said, So it didn't take me long to bail out of the classical world. When I was, going to school for on a full scholarship for classical violin, and was also had my feet in the jazz fusion world, and it's like, boy, man, I love that stuff. I'm jamming every night, playing the bass and adding the violin to that world, and I just ate it up every bit I could. And I said, I can't imagine myself playing in a symphony and being happy. They want you to play the same exact page, the same exact way every time. It's just not in me. Couldn't do it. So I aborted. I gave up the scholarship. Left. Took my parents a little while to understand giving up a full ride to school, but I did it and haven't looked back too hard. Every once in a while, I'll look over my shoulder and say, man, it would have been nice if I finished that degree. But thank you for telling me you like it. So that's where I come from. I come from being a little bit of an elitist buster. I don't like that in any realm, not just music. Even bluegrass was too stiff for me for the longest time. Bluegrass people, they learn the song in an exact way, and they strive to play it that same exact way and best the person next to them. I like that, did better than you. And they have competitions, and so I wasn't jiving with that at all. And it wasn't until the early 2000s where I went to the Mark O'Connor Fiddle Camp and went there with a little chip on my shoulder. I've told this story many times, and I found a refreshing, younger bunch of kids there that were taking the old fiddle tunes and using them as a jazz exploration more than anything. They were just playing the tune and then jamming around for 15 or 20 minutes and eventually coming back to the tune. I said, now that I can put my arms around. That was cool. And so I at least adopted more fiddling methods, and it expanded and deepened my roots as a fiddler too, as a violinist. So, and I also got into Cajun music, which is total swamp fiddle, I call it, where it's not major, it's not minor. You got to know your stuff, but swim all around it and keep the rhythm going, and even by yourself, keep people dancing. So, and totally improvise around a very simple structure of no more than 3 chords in any song. So that was a great root deepening for me too, and I glommed onto that for about 10 years. So I love stuff where, because of my personality, where you don't have to be an exact box. All right. So I'm I guess a paradigm buster. I guess to try musically. So that can be a curse too. That means you can't always find something that's yours because you're so busy busting the roots. But as I age, I think at the peaks of my creative abilities. I'm in my early 60s now, and have technique behind me for the most part. And now it's and people are blessed to have technique and a full identity as an artist at an early level. I feel my artistry is still coagulating and maturing inside myself. So you may hear more from me. I may even start a separate channel of just my musical things, not just educational and fiddle things. So watch for that. I may do some live streams eventually where I play the tracks and talk about how I played and show off my newest tune, even if it's not violin. Ooh, imagine that, not violin. I play guitar, I play bass well, I play my quatar, my fretless piccolo bass a lot, and I still like to sing. I don't feature that at all in my fiddle playing. So watch for that. I might do that. That's some of my background, and I hope will inspire you to be loose and not in a box. You don't have to be in a box. If you want to be in a box, that's cool. Stay in the box. If that's what gives you comfort, you're free to stay in a box. If you only like living in your town and don't want to go outside your town, that's cool. That's what gives you comfort. I find it to be too much of a fear factor. We all have fears. If you need the box for now, good. That's fine. Knowing your boundaries is okay too sometimes. Having zero boundaries can be stifling too. I've heard of performance artists saying, yeah, I get tired of just anything goes. Like free jazz musicians, they just play anything. No chords, no nothing. They just play whatever the hell noise they want. It's like, that's kind of out there too for me. So you need some boundaries, but the boundaries can move and shift as you need them, I think. Just like a football game out of bounds. It's kind of senseless, isn't it? So I say, can you imagine an American football game where basically the idea of the game is to kill the guy with the ball and stop him from getting to the other end. What if there's no boundaries and the guy took the ball and ran out in the parking lot and down the street and everybody's chasing him and the people in the stadium would be going, nothing for to see. They'd be gone, right? It wouldn't make any sense. So we need some boundaries for sure, but in musical things, I think they need to be bent and flexed and personalized. All right. So I hope this helps you. And oh, I almost forgot. I got the big sale going. I didn't even mention it. I should have mentioned that first. What a terrible businessman I am. I got the big sale going on. The Black Friday sale is going on until this Friday for 1 week. If you want to get in on just about everything I got, every course, get the full lifetime access to the whole library, which is about 200 lessons in the Fiddle Jam Institute library, the A to Z library, all kinds of fiddle tunes and jazz things and things to learn and grow by and experience and tracks to jam along with, all kinds of things in there, way beyond the book. Which is normally a lifetime pass is $425, I think, in the store. I'll give you my bucket list fiddle jam if you're more of a beginner. If you are an absolute beginner, that's the course for you. Bucket list fiddle jam in 1 month it'll get you playing a decent tune and sounding good. That comes with it. The Music Mechanics 101 course, how music works, the basics of chords and stuff on your violin. Know them so you know your way around and can improve your ears. There's that course in there. There is the Blues Violin course, a great course. I'm very proud of it. It has about 13 or 14 songs in there. You'll learn that it'll be in the style of ZZ Top and B.B. King and Steve Ray Vaughan and all these things on your fiddle, though. That comes with this sale. And what's the other? Music Mechanics. Oh, Fiddle Jam 101. Of course, that was the stuff from the book, but beyond the book. It's a course in itself. You also get my Etudes book, which is licks and tricks. You have to be a reader for that, but to benefit from it. It also give the non-readers cheater sheet as part of the bonus too. So if you purchase this, great. If you're an intermediate, perfect. It'd be perfect stuff for you. If you purchase this, instead of being over $1,000, it's $100. $100 to get just about everything I have this week, which is only 2 more days until Friday. So go for it if you're into it. It's a good time to get in. I have to take the sales away because I got to make money too. But so there's also private lessons in the store and the Fiddle Jam Institute store. If you go to the fiddlejaminstitute.com and go and navigate to the store, there is a sale button inside the store, and that's where you can get this. I will also, after this live stream is done, post the link to the sale in the description as well. So if that interests you, get in now. It's a lot of good stuff to learn how to expand your boundaries and to go from there. All right. So I hope you're well. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, a safe one and a happy one. And we'll see you next week. I'm looking forward to it. And if this is a benefit to you, let me know. If you want private lessons, let me know. There's a sale in the store for that too. I have 3 lessons. I'm normally charging $75 an hour lately, and but 3 lessons for like $128, I think it is. It's a sale in there. If you'd like to get in on a few lessons with me, grab that sale too. All right. Any questions? Let me know. You can email me through the site. You can contact me through any contact form on the site. All right. Amen.